Welcome to Cut the Crop, keeping you in the know about everything you grow. Researchers, growers and other interesting folk delivering insights and information on topics ranging from agronomy to profitability. Brought to you by the Foundation for Arable Research.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this episode of Cut the Crop. I'm your host, Scott Champion, and today I'm talking to FAR's Senior Field Officer for Vegetables and Herbage, Ben Harvey. Ben, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Scott.
Ben monitors aphids in cereals, and the 25-26 growing season has been an unusual one, and so we're going to be talking about some of Ben's work and some of the things that are peculiar to this season through today. So, Ben, let's just go back a bit. Tell us why it's important to monitor aphid numbers.
So, as many growers will no doubt know, aphids are the vector for the yellow dwarf virus, sometimes called YDV or BYDV, where the B stands for barley. We just call it YDV these days. So, YDV as a virus, it's the most important virus in terms of economic impact in cereals, and not only in New Zealand but worldwide. And it can, in severe cases, lead to yield losses. So we monitor aphids because if aphid numbers are starting to increase rapidly, then the risk of a virus outbreak spreading through a crop is also increased, and we'd like to avoid that if we could. And so in doing so, growers can get they can be a bit more proactive in deciding when to spray foliar insecticides. Some growers, especially in the past, would just they'd have just a program where they would spray according to the calendar, whether or not there were aphids there, and that can become quite costly, and it can also have quite an effect on biodiversity. So having this information available to growers allows them to make their own decisions, and it sort of also gives them maybe a trigger to go out and have a look and see what the aphid numbers are like in their own crops. And if they're getting bigger, then that might actually, along with some other information which we might have time to go into, is that might trigger them to actually put on a foliar insecticide. And for others, they would often not use one at all. And we know quite a few growers, and at the FAR arable site as well, we haven't put on a foliar insecticide to treat aphids for a number of years. I
mentioned in the introduction that there have been some characteristics of this current season that are a bit unusual. Looking out the window, we can see probably some of that here today. But yeah, tell us a little bit about the season, what it's been like for aphids and YDV here in Canterbury.
So I am going to have to try and focus things down a bit, because obviously there's been a lot of things about the season that's just been that have been challenging. Some growers have got through it quite well, we hear, and some not so well. Mm-hmm. And trying to tease out all the different causes that might have been involved in depressing some people's yields can be quite difficult. However, there's some things that we do know. Anecdotally, at least, we saw a slight increase in the amount of YDV symptoms that we saw in some crops. Mm-hmm. That's just based on some industry professionals talking to me. Some growers that we trust and know, and also the monitoring, which we will be able to get a confirmation of the aphid monitoring site YDV levels. We've sent them away for PCR, which is DNA testing, and those results should be with us soon. I had at the time of recording this podcast, they're not there yet, but we'll get an idea if it was a bad season for YDV. But the suspicion is that there was an increased level of YDV in those crops. Now, it's hard to tease out how much that could have affected yields, particularly when there's so many other challenges that growers have had to deal with. Some diseases and nutrient deficiencies can look similar to YDV symptoms as well, so we do need to confirm with these tests that it was YDV that we saw. And the other complication is that the pattern of aphid infestation was different this year, quite different. So aphids have two main times when they come into the crop. They come in as winged aphids, and they fly, what we call aphid flights, and there's two main ones, one in autumn and one in spring. Now, a lot of growers, particularly in Canterbury, actually had to delay their sowing of their cereals last autumn due to wet weather. a lot of the places where we monitored, we were actually quite late getting those monitoring sites set up because growers were delayed in planting. So those flights, those aphid flights, we didn't record them in our monitoring. So they were earlier. They were before the crop, certainly well before crop emergence. And so we didn't see those flights come in. And then aphid numbers in terms of wingless aphids, aphid colonies, they're very hard to find not when the crop is really small, but we could see a few here and there. And we communicated through Crop Action and also through Aphid Chat, the website where we collect all this data, that we were seeing these wingless colonies, although there were no flights. So the winged aphids weren't coming in on flights. So we had a fairly mild June and July as well. So those colonies may well have spread out a little bit, not through flying aphids, but they can just sort of transfer from plant to plant by just walking.
Yes. And
that means that if there was any YDV in that early part of the season, it could have spread a little bit more than usual. We did have a lot of cold, wet southerlies come through, and that usually has an effect on aphid numbers, but it was hard to confirm that with the way that we collect our data. So the other unusual thing was that we had a big increase in aphids in late October, early November. And normally that is when aphids start to ramp up in number. But it was slightly earlier than usual by a week or two. And the amount of increase we got was unprecedented, I would say. So we were talking tenfold numbers of aphid, winged aphids coming in and being caught on the traps. And pretty soon after that, we saw a pretty big increase in aphid colonies just walking through a crop and looking at them. Now, by that stage, crops were at least at growth stage 45. Many were more like 55, 61, something like that. And by that stage, both our research and international research has shown that yield losses, if plants are infected with virus at that stage, are drastically reduced. So it was quite startling, the number of aphids that were there. And up to that point, we had been saying, yes, there could be a risk from some of these wingless colonies that are in the crop, but we didn't think it was a big risk. We weren't prepared for the scale of increase. And what many people are asking is, could that large increase that came in that we all saw, could that have actually contributed to yield losses? And all the research that we've been doing over the last few weeks since we've been made aware of this has said no, but science is never an absolute. It tries not to deal in absolutes. You always find things going differently, but at this stage, it's if there's something that we can learn from this, then we'd like to try. But it's going to be very difficult because we can't really tease out which yield losses, without controlled trials, which yield losses were actually due to the virus and which weren't. So,
given the confounding effects and the number of factors at play this year,
exactly, it's a difficult one, and we're going to do our best, and we're going to also try to improve the way that we communicate risk periods to growers through Aphid Chat, Crop Action, and we might be looking at some other possible innovations as well, which I perhaps won't go into in case they don't come to fruition this season. But we'd like to try to get better at that, and growers, of course, are always welcome to approach us and give us their ideas.
Yeah, and would really. Absolutely. It's a great point, Ben, and would really encourage people, if they are listening to this and they've got ideas, get in touch. It's always helpful. Just in terms of YDV and the cereal crop, how does it impact the cereal crop?
So the thing that's most obvious and that people will be aware of is there's a discoloration on the leaves, sort of from the tip back. And it's in some cultivars, it's a sort of a yellowing with sort of get streaks along the leaves, and in some cultivars there's some purpling as well. So that's the most obvious symptom. If the crop is infected early enough, the crop also doesn't grow properly, which is why the D in YDV is there, yellow dwarf virus. So it's actually stunted. I didn't see any plants in my monitoring that were stunted.
Okay.
So what we don't know is, and we've been trying to find out, is if those late infestation or late infection can produce these yellowing symptoms without too much yield loss. But we haven't got to the bottom of that one yet.
And when it spreads through a crop, Ben, that's through the physical movement of aphids through that crop?
So they suck the sap
Yep.
of one plant, get it in their bloodstream, and or in their digestive system, I should say. And then they'll walk to another plot, or if they are winged aphids, they can fly in. And then, when they suck the sap of the next plant, it will be transferred in that way.
You talked about aphid chat earlier on. Tell us a little bit about that tool and how all of that information gets put together.
Yeah, so aphid chat has grown out of, we used to supply growers with information of aphid monitoring just in Crop Action and also on the website. And all that was graphs showing the number of aphids that we'd been detecting in crops, and also the number of beneficial insects. So we're doing ladybirds, brown lacewings, parasitic wasps as well, things like that. So we continue that, and the graphs are still there, but we've been expanding it to not only include further information like weather information, the number of wingless aphids that we're seeing, perhaps anything else that I've sort of noticed, because I've been doing this for a few years now, and you get an intuition for what's going on out there. So there's written reports which are at the top above the graphs, and also there's information that people can access which will help them in their management. So things like insecticides, information on different ones and how they might affect beneficial insects. There's also how to recognize different beneficial insects and monitor your crops yourself. And that's also a work in progress, and it's been going for almost 2 years now. But people are still welcome to contact us with things about that. So that data is collected by myself or some industry colleagues that help us out. I'd like to thank Advanced Agriculture and, in particular, Andrea Fox, who is based in Southland, and they've been extremely helpful in that. And we've had some other growers in the North Island from time to time, and we're hoping to get that again this year. So that data all comes in and gets uploaded in a timely fashion as fast as we can, usually the next day after it's collected, and sometimes the same day. And that goes up on the website, and growers can access that information where they'll put in the location that they're interested in, and the data will come back and show them what we've found.
If someone's listening to you here today and they want to access aphid chat, how do we do that, Ben?
The easiest way is to just Google aphid chat, and it actually comes up as the first result. But you can go to aphidchat.com. Yeah, it's also another way to do it. We also have links in Far Weekly. I don't think we yet have a link on our website, so don't go looking for it there.
And I was with a group recently, and there are a couple of people who weren't aware of Far Weekly. So if you are listening to this and you're not receiving Far Weekly each weekend, then get in contact with us here at Far, and we can get you on that mailing list. Ben, just to finish up, you talked about PCR testing results to come in. Are there other things that you're sort of doing to get a bit of better understanding of the season, other next steps that you're thinking about?
Anything that we could have done to understand the season that's just gone is too late, because it would have needed replicated trials perhaps, or some other form of data collection that we didn't do. These things seem to happen once every 20 years. If it even is a bad YDV year, we're still not sure. So it's hard to get that data when you're not sure which year is going to be a bad one. But we're hoping to improve aphid chat. We've got a few ideas, and we'd love to be able to do an alert system where growers can sign up with their mobile number and their location, and we can send out texts that say, "Hey, we think there's a risk period right now. Go and have a look at your crop. If you find aphids, you might want to spray." We're pretty sure we're going to be able to get historical data available so people can compare this season to previous seasons and see if it's more or less than the average. But other than that, we just, we want to listen to people who have have ideas and have had crops that they think have had issues, and maybe understand what their pattern of insecticide use has been and what they did in the season where they think they've had a bad problem. So that's probably all we can do for now, but we're open to ideas.
Great, Ben, thank you. So everyone, I've been talking to Ben Harvey, FAR's Senior Field Officer for Vegetable and Herbage. Ben, great to have you here. Thanks very much for your time. And for those of you who are listening, have a great day on the farm.
Thanks for tuning in to Cut the Crop, presented to you by FAR. If you'd like to know more about any of the topics discussed or have any suggestions for future topics, go to www.cutthecrop.co.nz.